Week 4 Sunbelt football is now in the books. We had some great games, we had some bad games, and we had some what in the world games. Now it's time to do a recap of those games and tell you which games I thought were good and which games I thought were bad in our Week 4 Sunbelt football recap. Coming up first, we have Appalachian State and Akron. This game ended up with a final score of 45-38 in favor of the Mountaineers. This matchup went a little back and forth in the first half until App State scored 21 points in the second quarter to take the lead. In the second half, however, Akron ended up outscoring App State 24-14, but it just wasn't enough to keep up with the Mountaineers. Even with Marcus Cox out, Jalen Moore was able to step up for the Mountaineers with 257 yards and 2 touchdowns. This game is going to get the goal for me. This game was very competitive throughout, and Akron even made a little bit of a comeback as well. Up next, we have Georgia Southern taking on Western Michigan. This is a game that I said in my pick'ems that Western Michigan would be seeking revenge against the Eagles. The Broncos got the victory over Eagles with a final score of 49-31. If you look at the box score, the biggest outlier is definitely the second quarter where the Broncos outscored the Eagles 28-10. Not only was the Broncos offense rolling, but they also got touchdowns on special teams and also on defense as well. While the Eagles gave up a lot of turnovers, they didn't commit as many penalties as they have in the last couple of weeks, so they're making some strides here and there, but right now they're not playing as a complete team. It wasn't the best showing of the Eagles, but the Broncos pure and simply showed they're one of the top G5 teams in the country. So this game gets the gold in my book. Up next, we'll quickly talk about Houston taking on Texas State. Houston blew them out of the water 64-3. Definitely wasn't a good matchup for the Bobcats. This game just gets the blue for me. It just wasn't competitive. The Bobcats weren't there. We all knew Houston was going to beat up on this team, and they did exactly just that. Now, the game between Troy and New Mexico State was one that I thought was going to be a little bit closer, but Troy just keeps showing why they're the best team in the Sun Belt. The Trojans' defense picked off the Aggies 5 times, 5 interceptions in one game, and Trojans quarterback Brandon Silvers threw for 246 yards and 2 touchdowns. While Troy had a solid performance on all sides of the ball, New Mexico State just didn't step up. This game is also going to get the blue just because there wasn't any competitiveness from the Aggies. Up next, we have a 4-overtime thriller between the Raging Cajuns and the Tulane Green Waves. Elijah McGuire not only looks solid running the ball, but he also has some great catches for touchdowns as well during the game. It wasn't really a lack of effort on the Raging Cajuns' part. It was just because simply Tulane is a fantastic team. Both these teams took it down to the wire in the clash in the Big Easy. This game is definitely getting the gold in my books. Up next, we had some late night Sunbelt action with Idaho taking on UNLV. I didn't have a lot of faith in Idaho in this matchup, but they ended up getting the victory 33-30 over the Rebels. The Vandals did a good job showing they can play on all sides of the ball, and what's even better, it was live on Twitter. So for the competitiveness of this game, it's going to get a gold from me. And that is my recap of the Week 4 Sunbelt football games. There definitely wasn't any other football games that happened. Why would you ask that? That's ridiculous. We gotta talk about these games. Remember in my Pick'ems video when I said there were 2 games in particular that wasn't worth talking about? The 2 games I'm not going to cover really into depth is Central Arkansas taking on Arkansas State and Nichols taking on South Alabama. I feel like both of those games are going to be blowouts. Well, I kind of lied. First up, let's talk about Nichols taking on South Alabama. For those who are paying attention this football season, this is the same Nichols team that took UGA down to the wire at Sanford Stadium. And I thought Nichols' magic had ran out by that point, but no, it didn't. Nichols took this game head on and was even leading towards the waning seconds of the fourth quarter until South Alabama scored and took the game into overtime. Nichols tried going for a 2-point conversion to win the game in the first set of overtime, but was unsuccessful. I put a lot of faith in South Alabama after this Mississippi State win, but I just feel like either the magic's running out or Nichols is better than a lot of people thought. Nichols should definitely be ranked in the FCS polls this week. Last but not least, oh boy, here we go. Central Arkansas ended up being Arkansas State 26-23. Now listen up, Red Wolves. I've been trying to defend you all year. I know you've been playing some tough opponents to start off, but this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. The Red Wolves brought in a lot of transfers, but just haven't been able to click so far, and now losing to an FCS in-state opponent, it does not look good for you. This game is getting a goal, but really just for the lulz of it. It's an embarrassing loss for the Red Wolves and an embarrassing loss for the Sun Belt Conference. And that's the true ending for this week's Sun Belt Week 4 recap. What are your thoughts on this weekend's games? Be sure to share and like this video, and also subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Braswell, and we can talk about Sun Belt sports or whatever else is on your mind. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you had a great time watching it, and I'll hope to see you again real soon. Take care.